This is a video on Mike Skinner from The Streets, which you might know him, you might not. You'll probably know him if you're like British or like at the very most a Londoner, especially if you're like my age, where you kind of come under the raver generation. Like your parents were, you know, kids in the 80s and 90s with the whole Ministry of Sound and drum and bass wave, which, you know, that's where Mike Skinner grew up. And then he sort of ended up making music through the late 90s and then through the 20s, and is still making music about that era, basically. And I don't know what it is about him. I love him so intently. I have for years, but like, it's weird because, like, if I'm honest, like, I love him a bit, but he can't sing, he can't rap. There's nothing spectacular about his lyricisms. If I'm honest, his music is at best mediocre. But, biggest but, there's something that makes him so special. And I think that he's so human. Like, his songs are just direct experiences. You listen to his every album, any album on any song, you know exactly what he's on about. You can tell exactly the situation he's describing and the emotions he went through on that situation. Think of an example, Dry Your Eyes from A Grand Don't Come For Free. Exactly, that's a breakup on the male perspective. That's what that song is about, but the emotions are so prevalent. Think of Empty Cans. That's, again, sort of a male breakup coping, but then it has the two different sides, emotional spectrum of sort of the idea that maybe drink will help you through it, and then the realization in the second half of that song it won't. And he is so literal. He never, at least as far as I know, I can't think of very many examples where he is totally metaphorical or figurative. He just tells it as it is, and you can tell, listening to whatever song it is by him, that it is based on something he went through, that it is a genuine experience, that every song he has ever made is based on one night out or another. He just has this, he always talks about the fact, I remember reading him saying in an interview that it's not drugs that give him withdrawal symptoms, it's when he doesn't make stuff for a few days, when he doesn't take what he's experienced and process it in a creative way. He says he can't go out for nights out and then come back and not sort of document them in some way. And that, even if it's just he comes down and writes what happens during the night, you can tell that's exactly where most of these songs stemmed from. Think Blinded by Your Light, Blinded by the Lights. Has It Come to This? Think Weak Become Heroes, which is the one playing now. Think of all these songs. You can just tell that he's been out, he's done whatever, and he's come home with this absolute need, almost debilitating, like an addict syndrome. He has to write it down because he knows that if he doesn't document it, a part of him will have that sort of guilt, will have that sort of regret, will have that sort of just shitty feeling that he's let this moment go without reaching it to its potential. And I have something similar to that. I get those sort of, not withdrawal, but almost like sickening feelings when I am not sort of reaching my potential creatively with my experience. If I take something in life for granted that I don't turn into something it could be when I have an experience that could end up being something great creatively, but I never use it, I feel that way. I feel those same symptoms, as he calls them. And I think that's why I love him, despite the fact that he isn't some revolutionary musician like all the other people as high in my books as him. He is one of my highest rated artists. And the only people who reach that tier in my books are people who change music entirely. But he's up there because he so manages to be a human and a musician. Not one and the other at separate times, both within each other. He just goes out and has nights of his life every night, then comes home, sleeps off his hangover, his come down, writes some shit down, and then bangs out a concept album, then that's admirable. And yeah, sure, you know, he's not the greatest singer, not the greatest rapper. He sometimes sounds a bit flimsy in his flow. But he's having fun, he's enjoying it, and I'm loving it. And so are a bunch of people I know. So, screw up, Mike Skinner. I fucking love you.